Magnus has literally got his fingernails now, just clinging onto that cliff edge.
Yeah.
But, oh, wow, what a move. Black cuts the coordination between White's queen and the second rank. And is Magnus about to resign? Is he going to throw in the towel? White's knight now hit by the black queen. And if it moves, there's a deadly check in the corner. It's just game over.
Yeah, game over.
Wow. Has he ever won before, Praggnanandhaa against Magnus Carlsen in any official game?
I don't think so.
I don't
No,
think
I
so.
don't think so.
It's a historical moment, and it's here. Magnus Carlsen, the world champion, loses to 16-year-old Praggnanandhaa. Look.
Yesterday was a historic and proud day for all Indians because we had Praggnanandhaa, the 16-year-old prodigy, beating Magnus Carlsen. And he becomes just the third Indian chess player to beat Carlsen after Vishwanathan Anand and P. Harikrishna. And Pragg also becomes the youngest player ever to beat Carlsen. And I think, let me be clear, beating Carlsen is no easy task because he's been in the form of his life, and as you all know, Carlsen is relentless and he's so consistent as well. And to have managed to beat him in an official tournament just goes to show you how much Pragg has grown. So anyways, let's get to the game. So over here we had Carlsen playing white, and that's also incredible because Pragg managed to beat Carlsen by playing black. So we had d4, knight f6 by Pragg, c4, e6, knight f3, d5, so going for the queen's gambit, declined. Then knight c3, c5, e3 by Carlsen. We have knight c6, captures, pawn captures, and bishop e5, pinning the knight. Then we have a captures into d4. So these are all basic openings. Then bishop d3, Carlsen decides to castle. Black does the same thing. We have h3. Pragg also does the same thing, as these are moves just to be safe. We have rook e1 so that Carlsen controls the free rank. We have bishop f5, which is a good move by Pragg. Then we have knight e5, which is a pretty good square for that knight. And it's highly recommended not to capture the knight because once we have d to e5, that pawn would be quite a menace since it controls those squares. Then we have rook c8 by Pragg, just developing his rook. We have bishop f4, which is also a pretty good move. We have rook e8 by Pragg, and Carlsen just plays rook c1. And over here we have queen b6, temporarily attacking this bishop, although it's guarded by the knight. But we can have threats such as a6, and then that black queen would be attacking the b2 pawn. So over here Carlsen decides to capture the knight, and we have b into c6 and knight a4, attacking the queen as well as saving the b2 pawn. So we have queen a6, and over here the black queen is attacking the knight, so it doesn't allow white to develop the piece. So we have Carlsen playing rook e3, which is a pretty good move because you can either have rook c3 doubling the rooks and attacking the c6 pawn, or you can make the rook go to g3 and attack black's king side. So that's a pretty strong move by Carlsen. And over here Pragg plays knight e4, preventing those two things. And we have f3 by Carlsen, driving away the knight, and Pragg plays knight g5. Now over here Carlsen plays rook c3, attacking the pawn on c6, which is a very weak pawn. But right now he can't capture it because if knight tries to capture the pawn, then his bishop is hanging on f4. So temporarily black is safe. So Pragg plays queen b7, and now Carlsen is getting ready to capture the pawn because he brought his bishop back to h2. Because now if knight captures the pawn, even if bishop captures, you have the king to capture it back. But still Pragg doesn't care, and he decides to play knight e6. So over here Pragg is willing to let go of his pawn to make some counter moves by playing knight f4 and attack white's king side. And Carlsen doesn't mind as well, so he captures the pawn. And over here what Pragg could have actually played was to capture the bishop, since that would have been a straight win, because after knight f4 rook e2 is inevitable and cannot be avoided, and that becomes really strong because now we have rook into g2 and it becomes really easy for Pragg from here on. But instead Pragg plays knight f4 straight away, which is also a strong move though. And over here we have knight e5. So now the threat of knight e2 fork is avoided by playing that move. And over here we have bishop captures, pawn captures, and we have knight d3, a pretty strong move. And we have Carlsen deciding to exchange his rooks. And after rook captures, and queen captures, we have bishop g3, just giving some breathing room for his king in case of any back rank checks. We have d4, which is his passed pawn for Pragg, so he's trying to make the most of it as well. We have b3, we have queen c6, we have queen d2, we have king h7. So both players are just making moves just to make their position better before they go for the attack. So we have king h2, we have bishop g6, and we have queen a5. So Carlsen is going for that a7 pawn as well, since he's already a pawn up and he wants to capture that a7 pawn as well, since he would have two passed pawns then. But Pragg had other plans in mind because he played queen c1. So Pragg is going all out on the attack, and he wants to attack white's king side, which is, to be fair, makes sense because that king does not look good. But Carlsen doesn't mind, so he captures the pawn. We have queen e3, a very strong move. Now he is threatening moves such as knight f4, and that doesn't look good for white. So over here Carlsen played knight c3, which turned out to be the blunder that let Pragg win this match. And you can try to pause the video and try to figure out the only move that Pragg could have done. Now over here Carlsen could have ideally played queen a5 and he would have still been in the game, preventing knight e1 move. But he played knight c3, and it was at this position that Pragg played a brilliant move, the only correct move in order for him to win the match. And the move over here was knight f4. Now knight f4 is such a strong move because if bishop captures, then we have queen capturing with check, and once the king moves, you have queen e3 and the knight on c3 is hanging, so you lose a piece. Now instead, if you play, for instance, g3, the same thing applies, queen d2 check, and that knight is hanging. So you cannot capture the knight with the bishop, that would be a straight up loss. And now black is also threatening the knight on c3. So Carlsen plays knight d1. So right now temporarily his knight is safe at the moment, but Pragg plays queen d2. So now the knight has very few squares left, and actually the only square left for that knight is knight f2. So Carlsen plays knight f2, and here Pragg plays a brilliant move. He plays knight e2. Now his plan is queen a1, queen g1, checkmate. So Carlsen has to do something because that is unavoidable. So he plays h4 just to make some breathing space for his king. And Pragg plays queen a1 as planned, and we have Carlsen playing queen d7. And over here Pragg plays a brilliant move. He captures the bishop with the knight. Now over here, if the king captures that knight, then it's game over, because after queen into e5, the king is forced to move to h3, and we have bishop f5 check with check, as well as pinning that queen, and that queen would be gone as well. So that is not possible to capture the knight back. So the only move for Carlsen was to capture the pawn on d4, since now white is 3 pawns up in exchange for his piece. So he feels he can still be in the game, but Pragg obviously had other plans. After knight f1 check, we have king h3, and now knight d3, a beautiful move since blocks the queen from saving the knight on f2, and black is threatening queen into f2. So over here Carlsen, and that knight cannot move as well because of queen h1 check, so he plays queen b2. So we have bishop c2, a beautiful move, again blocking the queen from saving the knight. And it was at this position that Carlsen resigned the match, because as you know, the knight on f2 cannot be moved. If it does, you have queen h1 check, queen into g2, we have knight d5 check, which is also checkmate. So I hope you all enjoyed this video. This was some brilliant counterplay by Pragg, and for him to beat the world #1, and that too Magnus Carlsen, at the age of 16, just goes to show you the potential the kid has. So hope you all enjoyed. Thank you.